You booked it, episode 120. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for joining me today on You Booked It, the #1 podcast where you learn how to create a successful entertainment career. Every episode is a masterclass on how to move your career forward. And if you want even more, head over to youbookeditpodcast.com and join the email community where we dig deep into what you can be doing right now to help book that next gig. And now, let's do this. Okay, let's get started. I am excited to introduce my guest today, Keith White. Are you ready for this, Keith?
Yes.
All right. Keith is a New York-based artist. He is a singer, actor, writer, doing his best to express himself with words and music. Keith was raised in Augusta, Georgia, and in the Bay Area of Northern California, creating a unique blend of Southern soul and California love as his base for his artistic journey. He attended college at the Boston Conservatory, where he studied musical theater, then moved to New York City to pursue a career on Broadway. Notably, Keith was in the second national tour of Jersey Boys and then made his Broadway debut in the original Broadway cast of A Bronx Tale. Since ending his run on Broadway, Keith has performed regionally in theaters all over the country, appeared on TV on CBS's Unforgettable and Star's Godfather of Harlem, and gigged in various clubs all over New York City with his solo music shows and his solo cabaret show, We All Try, a Frank Ocean tribute show. Keith currently is writing new theater and digital shows, songs, and poems. You can see some of his writing in Drew Gasparini's We Aren't Kids Anymore and one of the theme songs for the podcast, Just Make It Stupid. Keith, that is a quick intro of who you are and what you've done, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, fill in the gaps, and a little bit more about what you do as a professional in the entertainment industry?
Oh, okay. So I am an actor. That is how I've made most of my money in terms of a career. And I stay in New York trying to just be an artist and create a space for my life that has purpose and also keeps me happy and keeps me paid and yeah, that.
Right on. Perfect. And let's move on to this next section here. And Keith, look, I am a sucker for a good quote. What is your favorite quote you'd like to share with everyone?
An artist always has something to say.
Yes, I really like that. Can you delve into that and expand on how that's fit into your career?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a quote that my dad gave me a long time ago. My dad's a photographer, and he spent most of his life just shooting, chasing light, as he says. And he told me that as I was filling out college applications, and there were essay parts, and he was telling me that I better have something to say if I'm going to go into this career, this lifestyle as an artist. And so that stays with me with almost everything I do. I'm constantly trying to figure out how the material that I'm working with resonates with me, and then how through me I can put it out there and express what I feel about it. Yeah, and hopefully then it connects with someone or vibrates in a way that has impact, as all things do, I guess. But I hope my impact is positive with people, or at least something that changes them, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And it sounds to me that you are really concentrating on yourself first, and creating your art and figuring out what you're trying to say versus trying to meet the audience member where they're at, but instead saying, hey, this is what I have to share. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to realize when, before as I was growing up and going to college and then coming out of college, I knew that I just wanted to work in the industry and make money and at that time just be a star on Broadway. And I still want to do that and still want to perform on that platform of Broadway because some really amazing stuff gets made there. But there's also, in terms of that industry and business in general and commercial things, and just as you get older, you start to learn the things that you want to say and that vibrate with you. And I was chasing something that maybe was presented to me, and now it's morphing into what I really want to present myself. And those two things are converging all the time.
Yeah, I think that's really good insight on that. I Thank you for sharing that. And let's get into this next section here. And Keith, of course, you are an entertainer. I'm an entertainer.
Yes,
And I
indeed.
think that you'd agree that this industry can be one of the most subjective, brutally honest, personally emotional industries in existence. And
Yes.
you know as well as I that in order to create and have a successful career in this industry, like you're having now, takes a lot of dedication and hard work. And while, yeah, there's an outrageous amount of fun and excitement doing what we do, there are also our fair share of obstacles, challenges, and failures we are going to experience and we're going to have to move forward through. So tell us, what is one key challenge, obstacle, or failure you've experienced in your career, and how did you come out the other side better because of it?
Yeah, there are tons of little things that have happened along the way that I have to get through. You set expectations about maybe a job that you really want and you don't get, which totally happens all the time. But one of the biggest challenges, I think, is you just have to, it's like what I just said about the two worlds converging, of learning how to say what it is I want to say and also then have a career to then also sometimes do the things that you don't want to do. That was like a hard lesson for me to learn growing up, that sometimes you have to take a job, or and it can even be a side job, to keep pursuing the lifestyle that you set out for yourself. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
One key failure, I try to put them all behind me, honestly. I can't, like, I try to not remember the failures
Yeah, totally.
so that I just keep moving forward, and maybe that's not healthy.
No, I think that's
Maybe
great.
I'm not learning. I don't know.
Very good. Yeah, I think it is really tough. First off, I think we have to fail forward. We have to keep
Yeah.
moving forward. And the fact that you're continuing a career in this industry is clearly a testament to the fact that you are learning from the mistakes that you've made in your past. Because it's impossible to keep doing everything wrong and then keep
Yeah.
in this career and have a sustainable lifestyle in this career. But you're right. Finding those times when you have to go, all right, this gig is not ideal, but this is what I got to do for the moment so I can continue pursuing what it is that I love and what, like you said, what I set out to do from the beginning. There's so much to be said about that. Sometimes you get lucky and you get a really great streak of just doing projects that fulfill you artistically. They check all the boxes, but know that that's not always the case.
Yeah, like the biggest challenge itself, because it is such hard work, it is such discipline. The challenge is the biggest challenge, and I would say the key one is the thing itself, is sticking with it, because it's so easy to give up on this thing because it is so hard, but you also know that the joys that it does bring you. So it's sticking with it, I would say, is the biggest challenge in terms of I just want to make sure I don't sound really dark and pessimistic, like this thing is so hard, because for the people listening, because I'm sure there are people out there that want to know, what can I do, and because they want to live this lifestyle, and you can do it. It's just that it's really hard. I think the biggest obstacle, the biggest failure, the biggest challenge is the realizing how hard it is every step of the way. The continuous realization of, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, for sure. And this career is hard because, unlike a normal job, you don't get up at the same time 5 days a week and go to the same place, do your thing, get money, do it again. That's just not the way
Hmm.
our industry works. There are wonderful times I've found in my career where I've had that experience where I've been on a contract and it's very regular and you're in your show and you're doing it. And that's really fun. I'm sure you experienced that when you're on tour and when you're on Broadway. But what I found in doing that, when I found myself in those kinds of situations, depending on the show, if it consumed too much of my time and I wasn't able to explore other things, is grateful and thankful. I was like, oh, great. I've got this regular, steady gig for a minute and I can just kind of relax into this and really enjoy the show and what I'm doing. I love that time. But for myself personally, I eventually go, okay, I've been doing this for a little while now. Where's the next adventure? Come on. For
Yeah.
myself personally, I am not wired to go to the same thing day in, day out for year after year.
Oof. Yes. And that is our industry too, especially what it's doing. Because there's a special kind of, it's not just go to your cubicle, do that job the same every day, but it's actually, if you're a performer, you're saying the same words every day. You're doing the exact same movements every day. And that can be a maddening thing too.
For sure. And but there's a lot of exploration in there as well, and that's fun. But Yeah, I always find that a long-term gig eventually doesn't quite sit well with me. I love it for the moment, and it's so great to have,
Yeah,
but I love this adventure of this career, and it's so fulfilling to me.
completely.
Beautiful. Well, let's move on to a time that I like to call your spotlight moment. That
Yes.
one moment in time you realized, yes, I am going to be an entertainer for a living. Or maybe it was, yes, this is what I need to be doing as an entertainer. Tell us about
hmm
that.
I just know that I always wanted to perform. I just knew that I always wanted to be singing and doing shows. I always liked that, and I always had an idea that I would be doing this as a career. But the first moment that I was like, "Oh, I need this. I
Mm.
need this in my life. I'm addicted to it," was I was doing a production of the show Children of Eden when I was like, I think 13 or maybe 12, and it was community theater, and I was one of three boys in the whole show. And I don't know if people know the show, but there's definitely more than three male characters. um, and I was so young. I was 12, and I was because of, for what just because of the slim pickings, I was chosen to be like the lead of the show, which I didn't think I could do at all. These things I had done before, and I was always like just the 50th kid, like in the show in the background. And the director asked me to sing something, and I liked singing, but I'd never sung before.
Right.
And he's telling me to sing the scale, and it got to a point where I was like, I can't sing, that's too high. And he told me to do two things: open my mouth wider and like just be loud. And I kept singing higher and higher up the scale, and that feeling was like crack. So I knew that actually was like the moment I was like, oh, this is what I need to be doing for the rest of my life, this thing of yelling and singing these notes. And I will never forget that moment. Matthew
Oh,
Trombetta, the director.
oh, so good. And that is a good show. If my is in whatever time we have. Is that
Beautiful song.
that's from
Yes.
the yes, I love that show.
Stephen
Such a good song.
Schwartz, before Wicked, wrote these incredible songs, and you can hear Wicked all through that score. And then it
Oh.
just never got big. And then Wicked did, and it was like, this is all Children of Eden.
Now that you said that, you're right. The parallels that in whatever time we have is very much of what is the song? What is the song?
As long
Now
as you're
that you're
mine.
as long as you're mine. Yes,
Yes.
it's basically the same form, right? It's so
Same
good.
form. And oh, he just writes such good, like, poppy musical theater. So good.
Yeah, there's songs that you leave the theater singing, which is huge.
Yes. He's so good at that.
Yeah, love it. And I want to
Stephen
piggyback.
Schwartz
Yes,
asked me.
please. And let's piggyback on that real quick and let's talk about your number one booked it moment. Walk us through that day, the auditions and callbacks, if they happen to be a part of it. What was going on in your life, and what about that moment makes it your favorite booked it moment?
Yes. So I had booked Jersey Boys, and I was very
Hmm.
excited about that. It was definitely the first big gig like I was ever gonna do. It was major. It was like it was the first time I'd be like, oh, I'll have a steady gig for a long time. It's gonna pay well. Like
Yeah.
this is a next level job. And I had booked it, and but through that audition of like callbacks and callbacks, there was like four callbacks. They asked me to do the dance lab of A Bronx Tale, the musical, and it was still in like pre-production. And I thought it was going to be a month long, and then I was going to go on Jersey Boys. And I didn't think anything of it. I was like, wow, how lucky am I? I just get to do this gig. I knew nothing about the gig. I really knew nothing. I didn't know who wrote it. I really didn't. I didn't know who Jerry Zaks was, the director. And I get into the rehearsal room, and it's Sergio Trujillo who did Jersey Boys, and he comes up to me, and he's, so you're the guy I hired without ever seeing, because he never saw me in auditions.
Wow.
And I said, yeah. And he goes, okay, don't let me down. That's the first day. I'm in this
You're
room with
like,
like vets, everybody. I wasn't even equity yet. I on the first day of that contract, the equity meeting happens, and the equity deputy, or the guy that's the representative for equity, he goes, first words out of his mouth, first words of the whole process of everyone in the same room, who is Keith White? And I was like, me?
no.
Young, I'm easily youngest person there. And he goes, are you equity, Keith White? And I said, no. And he goes, well, you're about to be. And then everyone started clapping, and it was very
Yay.
nice. So that felt really good. But the best part about it was we worked every day or 6 days a week, 5 days a week for a month. And I thought it was just going to be over. Then I'd go on tour. And I had so much fun. I had worked so hard. It was like a life that I was loving. I was living in New York and working every day on a rehearsal. And it was the day before the last day. And I was riding home on the subway and I started crying because it was going to be over and I had enjoyed it so much. And the next day, we all come in, we have our last day, and I had all these goodbyes prepared. And Sergio, the choreographer, comes up to me, and I'm about to say, "Thank you so much for having me. This has been the best week. I cried yesterday." He puts his hands on my shoulders, and he goes, "You're gonna be in this show." And I was like, "Huh?" And he said, "You're gonna be in this show." I said, "Oh, okay." And I'll see you soon. And he walks away. And that's when he told
Whoa.
me I had booked a Bronx Tale. And I didn't even get to say all my goodbyes and the speech I had planned. And that's when I found that out, and that was my favorite booked moment.
Oh, that is so cool and so unique as well. What a different experience. That's so great.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah,
This
and
is the happy stuff now for your listeners out there. They're all like, "Man, maybe I don't want to do this." No, but there's incredible moments. That's why you keep doing it.
yeah, of course. And can you talk about doing a Bronx Tale a little bit?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was 2 years where like my dream came true of being on Broadway, and the people that were I got to do that show with. I don't know if it was the culture of the show, of the building, or whatever, but something infused in all of us, and it really was a good group of people. There really wasn't any bad blood in it. I don't know if people out there are. It seemed like Nick Cordero just had this big moment on like People magazine, and because he had gotten COVID, and there was a saga that people followed. Nick was in that show. It was the last show he was in, and it was incredible getting to work with him. And it was everything. Robert De Niro was co-director. He, it didn't seem like real life.
Wow.
On the flip side, it was so hard. It was every day doing the same thing. It was hard work. My back is never going to be the same. But I would do it all again. I definitely would. But it was incredible.
That is so cool. Love that story. Thank you.
Yeah.
And let's take a moment to talk about the present. What projects
Yeah.
are you working on now? What are you looking forward to? And it's a weird time, right? We're amidst this
hmm
global pandemic. How do you see the entertainment industry moving forward in the next couple of years?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's already been shifting to digital, but I feel like digital is going to be shifting a lot harder these coming
Hmm.
years and stuff. I can't wait for the day that we all do get to come back and do the theater thing. I think it's going to be a super cathartic experience for people that are in it, people that are watching it, for everyone. I can't wait for that. But anyway, what projects am I working on now? It's been a great moment for introspection. And I moved in with my girlfriend 5 days ago. So I'm working on that project of our first place together. So that's
Yes.
amazing. I'm trying to have my creativity be a thing that keeps me happy. Because as we are learning that the arts, while, okay, I don't agree that they are not essential, as we are seeing. We are literally living in a time of essential workers, and they don't need performers right now, not in theaters, not live shows, which I think is right in that it's not essential, but I do think it's necessary. I do think the arts are necessary in our lives. We need more of it. Don't twist my words and say that I want arts funding cut because I don't. I think there needs to be more of it. But I am trying to make sure that in this time, since it's not here with me, my creative career, I want to keep doing it and see it as the thing that I love. Keep doing it to make me happy because there is a lot of, I got friends that are leaving the business, friends that are starting new careers. And I am trying to write things and keep it paying me, trying to keep doing a career in this. There are side jobs galore that are not creative a lot, not creative at all, just to stay living in this world. But yeah, I'm interested to see what the entertainment industry is going to do. It's going to shift, it's going to be around, but it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I'm writing, I'm singing, I'm making music. I'm going to put stuff out soon on digital platforms. But that's the thing, you have to make your own work. The other funny thing about this for performers and people that work in the theater is part of this quarantine life. Some people took it as a big shock. Some actors were like, "Oh, this is what my life has been," because you go gig for a while and then you have nothing for maybe years, and you just have to figure out how to survive without doing your thing. Anyways, that was a really long answer.
No, it was really good. I really like how you made the distinction between the arts being an essential business and a necessary business. And I
Yeah,
think you're so right in that because the arts are so important to having our escape, helping our well-being and our mental health for so many people. Whether it's YouTube videos or TikTok or Netflix or whatever, people are consuming so much content for entertainment purposes. We need it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's how we cope, but it's also how we, some people learn and grow and find themselves through creative pursuits. Yes, it helps us cope when we get to watch something and experience art, but it also helps us grow, I think, when we partake in the creative process, like in any kind of way. I think
Yeah.
anyone benefits from whatever, even if you aren't doing a career out of it, but you're just making stuff, crocheting, really,
Yeah.
like just being creative, creating things.
For sure. And it is time to move on to one of my favorite sections in the interview. I call it the Grease Lightning Round.
Yes.
I am going to ask you a handful of questions. I want you to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible, one after another. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, first question. What was the one thing holding you back from committing to a career as an entertainer?
The one thing that holds me back as for from committing to a career as an entertainer is myself.
There you go. Second question. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
It's create your own work. Got that from my college teacher, Johnny Kuntz.
Oh, that is so pertinent, especially in this time. You talked about it a little bit in the previous question about what this industry is looking like amongst the pandemic. But I think a lot of us have also discovered that we are in control of our art versus relying on a gig, relying on a show or a contract to be that the justification to express ourselves. That we're in control of it. We are artists, and to really embrace that.
Yes, absolutely. And the industry will try and put you in a box, put you in a type or whatever, and everyone is so much more than just a little box to be put into. So you have to be the one to show everyone that, yeah, to control it, just like you said.
Great. And the third question, what is something that is working for you right now? Or if you'd like to go pre-COVID, what was working for you before our industry went on pause?
Yeah, I think it was just not taking stuff seriously. I'm right at the beginning of this year. Of course, I was 2020. I just turned 30 in January, and I was like, new decade for everyone's existence, and personally, it's a new decade for me. I'm 30, and had shows lined up. I was just putting stuff out there and not taking it seriously, and just having fun and living life for the now, and just doing work because I loved it. That and I was getting stuff out, and I was having a great time. Like doing the things that I love, remembering to do those things in terms of creating, that is my what gets me through. What's working for me now, having fun.
Yeah, and would I be correct in saying that when you really embrace that mindset and you say, I'm just living in the now, I'm enjoying everything I possibly can about this, that really interesting projects and opportunities also started just showing themselves to you?
Totally. They just start showing up when you're just leading with light. It also just like levity, it just makes everything so much easier.
Yeah. And the fourth question, what is your best resource? Whether that is a book, a movie, a YouTube video, a podcast, maybe a piece of technology that you found is helping your career right now.
I have two. A piece of technology is GarageBand and my laptop.
Yeah.
I'm just having the best time going through that, figuring that out, and creating things on that. And but as like for a book, I think everyone should read Julia Cameron's The Artist Way. It changed like the game for me, and it really helped with this sort of not taking it seriously, living in the now,
Hmm.
and knowing that being creative is just a natural thing. We we all are creations ourselves from whatever it is, from the universe or a higher power or whatever. We were created, and so it's only natural for us to create things. And so when you can just allow it, that changed everything for me.
Ah, such a good book.
So good.
And yeah. And the fifth question, If you had to start your career from scratch, but you still had all the knowledge and experience you've collected from your career in this industry, what would you do or not do? Would you do anything differently, or would you keep it the same?
I initially answered, I'll just keep it the same, but I do think I would love to have a younger version of me know like the timeline is not that important. Don't stress the timeline. And yeah, live in the now. That same sort of thing we were just talking about. I wish I had learned that a little bit earlier, but at the same time, like I don't regret anything. Like I love where I'm at, and
Yeah,
I don't know if I'd change that much.
for sure. And that's what I love about this question because it is the conundrum of the question, right? Because our lives are the way they are because of all the decisions and the mistakes that that we've made along the way,
Right.
but it's fun to go down the rabbit hole.
Totally.
And the last question, what is the golden nugget knowledge drop you've learned from your successful career in this industry you'd like to leave with our listeners?
You are enough. You don't have to be anything else than just what you are. You are enough.
So true. And to wrap up this interview, Keith, it is time to give yourself a plug. Where can we find you? How do our listeners connect with you? Is there anything you want to promote?
Yeah, I've got my Instagram. It's your boy Keith White. That's your boy YA. And you so follow that, please, and you can reach me on there. And also, there's stuff of mine on YouTube. Go check out Keith White on YouTube, see what you find. And if you follow the Instagram, you'll see stuff on there coming out. There will be projects coming out all the time. Keep your ears to the ground. And yeah, let's connect.
Beautiful. And for everyone listening out there, I have put the links to everything Keith just mentioned into the description of this episode. Keith, thank you so much for taking your time to chat with me today. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Dane. It's good to reconnect with you. Love the show.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't miss an episode. I have a new guest 7 days a week. Every guest drops more value and insight than any other resource out there. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love to hear from you. Leave us a rating and review. Also, be sure to head over to youbookeditpodcast.com and join our free email community where we dig deep into a continually growing resource of truly actionable things you can be doing right now to help you advance your entertainment career. All the best to you. We'll see you tomorrow.